ACC Sunday Night Hoops is presented by Staples. That was easy. And brought to you in part by Nissan and your local Nissan dealers. And by Kyocera, the new value frontier.
Welcome back to Chapel Hill. I'm Dwayne Ballard. As Tom and Mike mentioned earlier, Georgia Tech was picked 7th out of the 9 teams in the ACC. But one man didn't believe that. Georgia Tech head coach Paul Hewitt, from the very beginning, he told his team, we are not going to be average. We're not going to be good. We're going to be very, very good. Tom, I guess in all due respect to the television legacy of Hugh Beaumont, Coach Hewitt knows best.
No doubt about that, Dwayne. And, of course, all that coming on the heels of Chris Bosh leaving after his freshman year. Ed Nelson transferring to Connecticut. And yet here the Ramblin' Wreck at 12-1. And we are underway. Carolina controls the opening tip.
Plus a couple of injuries, Tom, too. And Will Bynum not eligible for the first part of the season. So really it's only been as of recently that they've had their whole team together.
Carolina gets it down low to Jawad Williams for the game's first basket.
You know, Jawad Williams may quietly be having one of the best seasons nobody's heard about in the ACC. Everybody talks about Felton and May and McCants, and Jawad Williams putting together a fine season.
Williams, an honorable mention, all ACC performer a year ago. Elder lost the handle, picks up his dribble, trapped in the corner, and Carolina the takeaway. Felton the other way, bumps, and it goes!
Points off of defense already, and you know, Tom, that Roy Williams has taken Rashad McCants to task for his defense, and he really caused that turnover, getting all over Elder, and then you see the finish on the other end.
Raymond Felton, the preseason Atlantic Coast Conference Player of the Year. Scoring numbers are down. Of course, that's going to happen when May comes back. He missed almost all of last year, but Felton, the #1 assist man in the league. Roy Williams slams his fist to the chair, thinking that was a turnover. McHenry to Jared Jack for 3. Not there.
On the perimeter, one of the things we saw at the Georgia loss, not many free throws by Georgia Tech.
And there's Melvin Scott for 2. It is 7-0 Tar Heels. Spencer Walk.
Had the left hand, but gave it up.
Take a look at our Staples game plan. Coach Kaminsky.
Well, for Tech, they want to win in the paint, not only keeping Sean May at bay, but also getting post up through their wings. North Carolina needs to match Tech's energy. I think they've overcome that here early in this game, that Roy Williams has got to be happy with the level of intensity in the first minute and a half.
We talked about Georgia Tech beginning the year in the preseason NIT in the semifinals, knocked off #1 Connecticut, then beat a very good Texas Tech team. They lob it into May, and Tech getting worn out here in the first minute and a half.
They may have to start doubling Sean May earlier than planned.
Anthony McHenry picks up his dribble and was hacked on the arm. That'll be on Jawad Williams.
You know, right here, for a 7-footer, you should never be lobbed over for an out-of-bounds play. As Shencher just fell asleep right there. One thing May has, that if you have it as a big man, and you put you way ahead of everybody else, he's got great hands, Tom. I mean, he just catches everything, puts it up softly. He's really got, he's a load inside.
Well, Georgia Tech, one of, if not the deepest team in all of college basketball this season. Already bringing in Clarence Moore off the bench, along with Ismail Muhammad. That's Muhammad, a rugged player, and he lays it in.
We talk about energy and high-octane offense off the bench. He's rugged inside. And keep an eye on Clarence Moore, too. Tom's got a case of turf toe, and they thought it might limit his action tonight.
McCants blocking that. Shot attempt by Jared Jack, knocked out of bounds by North Carolina.
And we talk about the lack of a true post player, but their wings are very, very strong inside. Both Elder and Muhammad, big bodies, and of course Muhammad, the preseason NIT MVP, so he's not a surprise to anybody this year as well.
He scored 38 points in 38 minutes in the semifinal and final wins over, as we mentioned earlier, UConn and Texas Tech. Spencer, we mentioned, the native of Australia, put on some 40 pounds since coming to Georgia Tech, and there's a southpaw Moore knocking in a three.
And quietly, the coaching staff has said he has been a big reason for their success to this point. He's been a great leader in the locker room, and as of recent date, has been putting up some good numbers after sitting out last year, and we'll touch on that more later. He's really starting to feel like his old self out on the floor.
May, powerful to the basket.
No answer for 42 here early in this game.
May coming off a 23-point, 16 rebound effort against Miami of Florida. Batted ball, and Felton will run it down. Well, these two teams will get up and down the floor here tonight. David Noel hacked on the way up. Each of these teams averages better than 81 points a game.
Well, here's the look at May, and a beautiful spin move inside. Might have gotten a bump on the play, but the power to finish up. And I just don't think that Shencher has the lateral quickness to stay with Sean May when he puts the ball on the floor. There you see his record so far in the ACC, pretty stout, top 6 in 3 categories.
And, of course, you heard Paul Hewitt mention it earlier. Sean May broke his foot in December of last year and missed the entire rest of the season until the Atlantic Coast Conference tournament. He came back for 1 game against Duke.
And and for that reason, and a relative unknown in the ACC. It's almost like his rookie year, and Paul Hewitt touched on it at the top about preparing for him. You want to talk about the bigs that they faced. Emeka Okafor against UConn, and May, arguably the 2 best bigs that Georgia Tech has seen all year. They handled Okafor, but so far in this game, May playing extremely well.
Carolina's not been a good free throw shooting team. David Noel missing a pair there a moment ago, and really poor free throw shooting cost him the game against Wake Forest. First game of the season for Theodis Carver, sophomore out of Monroe, Louisiana. He had a preseason knee injury today, his first game back. And Williams working on it. But Carver altered the shot. He's very athletic.
They missed him, and talk about an answer inside. We might see him a lot against May. A wide body, 6'9", 240, who can bang inside. Some more fouls. He's active. Dislocated his kneecap in the preseason, and that's why he has been out. Has been practicing since Christmas. Was eligible to play against Georgia, but getting his first action, as you said, tonight.
And, he really came on down the stretch in the NIT of last year. He averaged 7 points and 4 rebounds a game, and not started all year long till the NIT.
Carolina very active defensively here in the first half.
Boy, it's tough to keep him down, though, Muhammad. He is so strong.
That's what, you talked about Bosch and Nelson, the bigs that they lost, but every player at their position now plays big as well, especially Muhammad inside.
Jackie Manuel off the Carolina bench playing his best basketball of the season right now.
No question that he understands his role with Roy Williams. Not taking threes anymore, getting to the rim.
Muhammad, one of the great leapers in all of college basketball, and he had thoughts of throwing that one down. Instead, he's knocked to the ground.
We talked to Paul Hewitt, and this is a key component. Ball movement, especially changing sides with the basketball. When that happens, their offense runs very well. Muhammad able to finish at the rim.
We talked about Paul Hewitt's depth. A lack of depth hurts North Carolina. And Jawad Williams has just picked up his second foul.
And that's we thought he might be a sleeper in this game. We talked about Sean May inside and Williams, but his ability to score. And that's the one thing that North Carolina can ill afford at any point, especially to their top scorers, Tommy, foul trouble or injuries. And we saw it in the away game with Sean May. When he fouls out in the third overtime, that's when Eric Williams goes to work.
Well, we're off and rolling in Chapel Hill. 13-8. 4 minutes have gone by. Many factors will determine tonight's game, but certainly the Georgia Tech depth, a huge strength for the Yellow Jackets.
Well, you look over the course of the season, 9 guys play at least 14 minutes per game time, and you look at tonight, no starter has scored in this game all 8 points for Georgia Tech off the bench.
And that is something they have done with regularity. They call them the G Squad, as named by Clarence Moore. You look at the minutes, you look at the point production. 28.5 points per game the Yellow Jackets get from its bench.
I love that nickname.
Well, of course you would.
Why
I put the ball on the tee for you.
What a great nickname. Who thought that up?
Full court pressure and blowing right through it as Felton lays it in for Manuel.
You know, there are certain guards in the country that are one-man press breakers, and we talked to Paul Hewitt. He'd throw a trap out there at the end of after the first TV timeout, and Raymond Felton looked at it and then put it in the rearview mirror.
May runs the floor and misses a layup. Wow. That's one you hear a lot of times in college basketball. Coaches say, dunk this ball.
No question. He was running just a little too fast to let him. He just tried to lay it up over the front of the rim. Either go backboard right here or throw it down.
Good start tonight, though, for May. Coming off that fabulous game against Miami. Manuel into the lane. Chased from behind and hacked by Mario West.
Hey, our cameraman down, he went out for a second time. He got hit hard. Boy, he knocked his head right against the stand. That was bad.
Gary Parsons, part of our ACC Sunday Night Hoops package. And this is what Gary saw, and hopefully he's going to be all right.
Boy, trainer Mark Davis going over there, but this action coming right at you, and that is the last thing that he saw for a little bit. Mario West coming right into his kitchen, and I looked over there, Tom. It was there's the spill right there, and he whacked his head on the back of on the bleachers. There I think he's up and laughing right now, kind of checking where all the parts are.
We're around Gary each and every week. That's a tough man. Terrific work by the Carolina medical staff to get out there immediately to take a look at Gary and bring you up to date. A fast start to this one, 15-8. Not only 5 minutes have gone by. And you talked about Georgia Tech. A lot like the Wake Forest game. Carolina delivered a heavy punch in the first minute and a half. Wake was able to recover, get back in the game. You know the rest of the story. 3 overtimes later, the same thing has happened to Tech here tonight.
Right, and that's where your depth serves you well, when you've got those answers to go to. Ismail Mohammed coming in, doing a nice job picking this team up, getting some baskets, and you know, just letting the starters kind of regroup, because the North Carolina came out with a real sense of urgency to win this game.
Well, we heard some of the keys from Paul Hewitt. We asked Roy Williams the same thing.
I think we've got to get the ball into the lane area, and either by dribble or pass, and try to get something inside. At the same time, we can't just make the silly turnovers that characterize our play at times. And then the other thing, above anything, we've got to lose ourselves in the game. If the ball's rolling on the floor, it can't be, well, should I go after it? It's got to be, boom, human nature. And it's something that we're trying to build, and that's something that we have to do if we want to be successful.
Those were very interesting comments in your interview earlier today with the Tar Heel head coach Roy Williams. He clearly is concerned about his team's effort. He said, I can handle a guy missing a shot. As Gary Parsons is up on his feet, thankfully it looks like he's going to be all right.
Got a nice hand from the crowd here, well deserved. And but you know, you're right, and I guess the thing that was puzzling to Gary Williams is why that wasn't here already. You know, the getting used to his system is all right. That's one thing. That's a whole different set of rules that we got to get. The playing with passion. He hasn't seen that consistently yet, but he's seen it for the first 4.5 minutes of this ball game.
Well, Jackie Manuel headed to the free throw line, where he has struggled and struggled mightily. 9 of 22 now on the year, and the Tar Heels already 0 for 3 at the stripe tonight. Schencher checks back in, as does Muhammad.
Let's see with Jack and Elder if all of a sudden, if they've got their second wind and a little rest on the bench here, will get them into this ball game. But Manuel, you can see it's become a mental thing right now, Tom. He looked uncomfortable. I was here for the very first game against Old Dominion, started then, and he has not recovered to this point. Really hasn't found a comfort zone at the line.
7-point Tar Heel lead. DJ Elder, the top scorer for the Ramblin' Wreck, has not scored in the game yet tonight. They're trying to get the ball down to Muhammad. Spencer misses a 7-footer. Numbers the other way for Carolina. What a pass underneath from Felton to Noel. How did he get the ball through that crowd?
Sometimes the ball has a mind of its own.
And Elder able to bury the three.
You know, you don't expect possessions like that to end up with a basket, but credit B.J. Elder on settling things down, sticking a fork in that ball and getting it under control.
Nice cut by Manuel, a nice feed by Sean May. Elder defended by McCann. Good ball fake, and B.J. buries his second straight three. The average is just under 16 a game.
And not for lack of effort by Rashad McCants either. Pretty good defensively.
May tapping it to Manuel, who lays it in. And I think off the bench.
That's why Jackie Manuel shoots 60%, Tom. He's not taking threes. He's getting good looks at the basket. And when you have a post player who can pass the ball like May, it makes it awfully easy.
Carolina 10 of 14 from the field and a double dribble on Clarence Moore.
Now, Raymond Felton talks about just being able to see things before they happen, and that's the play right there. David Noel, former wide receiver, makes the catch, and here's the look inside. I talked about great post passing. Sean May, a great feel for the game. All you've got to do is cut and keep your hands up.
Huge round of applause for May, Felton, and David Noel, who leads in favor of Jawad Williams with 2 fouls, Byron Sanders for the first time, and Milton Scott.
Now look at the pressure applied to Scott with Felton sitting on the sideline.
Will Bynum has come on for Georgia Tech, the transfer from Arizona. McCann for three.
That's a tough cover for Clarence Moore outside. A little reluctant to go all the way out and get a hand up.
Bynum had it blocked. Shencher got control of the ball, was fouled by Sanders. Or did they get Manuel? I think they charged a foul to Jackie Manuel. Georgia Tech lost its first 10 road games last year, and like you brought up yesterday, one of the final pieces of the puzzle of becoming a contending team in any conference, especially the ACC, the ability to win on the road.
Right, it's just a matter of confidence, believing in yourselves. I think this team is ready to take that next step, Tom. Last year a little bit too young, but the difference is Jarrett Jack now playing much better on the road.
Welcome those just joining us. North Carolina out to a 10-point lead. They have forced 7 Georgia Tech turnovers here in the first 7.5 minutes. Georgia Tech ranked 8th in the country. North Carolina at number 12. Scott to Manuel. McCants high for the rebound. Little fadeaway. Not going to go. A tip and good.
Paul Hewitt calling a timeout, and Jackie Manuel getting all over the offensive glass on the tip. Misses the first jump shot here badly, but North Carolina and McCants going high up over the 7-footer to recycle, and that just cleaned up the front of the rim. Jackie Manuel doing a good job staying with the play after missing that jump shot.
Jackie Manuel averages 6 points a game. He has 8 points off the Carolina bench tonight. Let's take a look at the AP Top 10, brought to you by Bank of America for higher standards. See North Carolina checking in at number 12, Georgia Tech 8, and 2 others in the Atlantic Coast Conference in the top 5, including your alma mater.
Had a very good road win against Virginia today, and a couple of we talked about winning on the road and how important that is. And North Carolina State also getting one down in Tallahassee.
That's a big win for NC State. Backdoor cut to Jared Jack. Good pass to Schencher.
Yeah, and that was good composure by Georgia Tech, especially Elder, who was really dead in the water without a dribble, without a live dribble, and he was able to play out of it.
McCants left alone. And off the mark from 3, and now Georgia Tech down 10 with the basketball. They race the other way and traveling on B.J. Elder. 8 turnovers for Georgia Tech here in the first 8 minutes. We're at the Dean Dome in Chapel Hill.
Welcome back to Chapel Hill, where Carolina leads Georgia Tech by 10. Earlier, I talked to North Carolina legendary point guard Phil Ford, who's now an analyst for the Carolina Sports Network, about Jared Jack and Raymond Felton, the 2 fine point guards in this game. He told me that to him, they have the championship look and walk. He said that point guards, he thinks, are born. They have those intangibles, both men do, that make them successful. They're willing to sacrifice for the team. Mike, something I'm sure you as a big wouldn't really know about.
Yeah, they're a necessary evil of the game, Dwayne. But I tell you, college basketball, point guard may be the most important position on the floor. I don't think you can contend for a championship without one.
And as if on cue, Felton races coast to coast and gives it up to McCants, who lays it in, and the lead swells to 12. That was partially blocked, I thought. Apparently not. Elder saying it was blocked by McCants.
And losing the argument, too, but McCants has done a pretty nice job on Elder getting up and contesting jump shots in this game. And right now, North Carolina's got that running game going, outscoring Georgia Tech 12-0 in transition.
McCants forced that shot, and it's off the mark. McCants had a rough night against Kentucky, as did Jawad Williams. In fact, the entire front line of North Carolina, which averages 50 points, combined to score 15 in that loss to the Wildcats.
And that's where the offense is going to struggle. They can't suffer that type of production loss from their main scorers.
Felton.
Well, he certainly has risen to the occasion against Jared Jack. I thought his best game of the year was against Chris Paul at Wake Forest, and he's taken this as well.
Jack trying to muscle Felton, and this is the short jump hook. Look at Felton. Oh, my goodness. Well, Raymond has brought his A game as you thought he would, and so has Carolina's defense.
It's been swarming, and really right from the first possession, Georgia Tech's been rocked back on their heels a little bit. Turnovers in this game now, 8 in the first 10 minutes. Kance has done a spectacular job on B.J. Elder, and in that last little sequence, it showed both point guards at their best. Jared Jack, I talked about his strength. Paul Hewitt trying to run him in the post, get a foul against Felton, and then Felton, the rocket down the other end, a one-man fast break.
Well, I tell you, Mike, I mean, you see a lot of college basketball, and I know that Jack is having a fabulous year, but boy, for me, at the end of the day, I think this kid right here is still the best point guard in the country.
Well, you know what? The league is blessed with a ton of good point guards, up and down the roster, and it seems to be a strong point this year. Jameer Nelson up in St. Joe's, a host of good point guards around the country.
Another Georgia Tech turnover. Felton, what a feed to Manuel, and he's hacked by Moore on the way up. It has been a sensational game for Raymond Felton here in the first 10-plus minutes. Take a look at our Toyota game summary. It's been all Tar Heels so far.
All right, dominating points in the paint. That's one thing that Paul Hewitt was really concerned about. The points of turnovers, a huge swing right now. What's maybe more impressive to me about Felton than anything that he has really subordinated his offense to everybody else on the floor. This kid could be scoring a lot more than he is, but he understands for this team to win, the most important thing for him is to set people up. And he's going to have his opportunities to score, but within Roy Williams' framework, that's his main job, and he's accepted that.
Felton, the first North Carolina freshman ever, and that's right, ever, to have 400 or more points, 200 or more assists.
Including the guy sitting up in the radio booth, Mr. Phil Ford.
Yeah. Except he scored about triple that. Another turnover for Georgia Tech. And this crowd's fired up in Chapel Hill. May wants it, gets it.
Sean May gets you on his back 2 feet from the rim. It's 2 points. Mark it down. Carver just got put in a bad position.
Oh, they forced a shot. Manuel thought he had a block.
Carver battling, but, you know, just May is so wide, and when he catches there's really nothing you can do except put him on the line. Great look inside, throwing to the outside hand away from the defense.
Sean May, 6 points. There's not been much to rebound. Georgia Tech has turned it over 11 times.
Yeah, and you know, and this guy is going to get some boards. He's coming off a 16-rebound effort against Miami and set the Smith Center record with 21 against Akron. So he's been a horse. 10.5 on the year. You know there won't be a 0 in that column for long.
Well, there might be a 0, but there might be a crooked number in front of him. DJ Elder, third-team All-ACC performer a year ago. The top 3-point shooter in the conference last year. Bynum runs down the loose ball. Tech down by 19. Muhammad off the block shot, follows it up with a bucket.
And I like what Georgia Tech's trying to do, Tom. Attack the rim, get inside, maybe slow this game down a little bit with some free throws.
Felton was grabbed by Muhammad. And Muhammad saying, hey, he's pushing off.
How about that? Jackie Manuel with 12 points off the bench. A huge pump. When he comes with that type of production, North Carolina is going to be tough to beat.
Jawad Williams off a nice feed from Felton.
And it seemed like the interior people with Sean May out of the game relaxed a little bit inside, but Jawad Williams perfectly capable of shaping up.
Been a very quiet first half from Marvin Lewis. And that one thrown away. 12 turnovers for the 8th-ranked team in the country.
All right, this is just great interior screening inside, and sometimes all you can do is get lost along the baseline. Jawad Williams able to sneak in. 3 assists, 12 turnovers for Georgia Tech. Just a little out of sorts right now.
Still a long way to go here, though.
Yep.
Long way to go. This is a very, very good Georgia Tech team. Granted, they're down by 19. But plenty of time to get back in it. McCants. Off the miss, Bynum with a rebound for Georgia Tech. They go the other way. Bynum lays it off for Carver. And let's see who they get. If they get Manuel, that's number 3. Justin Bolander, a freshman out of Winston-Salem, has come on.
Bolander gets the foul on the play. Pretty nice job by Bynum breaking down the defense, though, and getting his teammate Harver a layup inside. Will Bynum's first ACC action.
Yep.
Been through the battles out in the Pac-10 with Arizona for 3 semesters before transferring.
Of course, Arizona getting beat for the fourth straight year on its home floor yesterday by the Stanford Cardinals. Stanford, another team, not highly touted at the beginning of the year, but they're rolling. So, too, is Jackie Emanuel. He has a reason to smile so far tonight. Saturday Pac-10 basketball presented by Kyocera returns with a doubleheader. Washington and Oregon State, followed by Cal and Stanford. Coverage begins at 4 Eastern, 1 Pacific on Fox Sports Net. Georgia Tech trailing 38-21. A rough beginning for Paul Hewitt's Ramblin' Wreck. Hewitt in his fourth year at Tech. He is doing some kind of job. But there you look.
Normally, Tech's opponents average twice as many turnovers as assists on the game, but it's been flip-flopped by North Carolina. Only 1 turnover, Tom, in the first 12 and a half minutes, 10 assists. Great floor game.
Yeah, no Georgia Tech opponent all year long has recorded more assists and turnovers in a game. Amazing. Take away by Bynum. And he'll race the other way, 3-on-2, and then Bynum nearly lost the handle.
And didn't run that break especially well. Everybody was really compact. North Carolina able to defend with 2 players.
Might be the best North Carolina defense we've seen out of this team all year long.
Yeah, that's what did Roy Williams talk about today. You know, that's where it begins and ends. And you know, it's amazing, Tom, that when you expend energy on that end of the floor, how much easier the offense comes to you.
Emanuel from inside the arc, just short. May tried to follow, and bodies hit the deck. Boy, that was a shot block. May taking down Muhammad. You talk about a couple of heavyweights.
Sean May is going to get called on the foul right there, but look at that efficiency. 64% shooting, 10-2 assist to turnover ratios, and you know, Georgia Tech shooting okay, but you know, not getting many opportunities because of the turnovers.
That'll be the 16th foul on North Carolina, or is it the 7th? They're checking over the scorer's table because Tech is going to the line. It's a 1-and-1. So the 17th foul. And Muhammad, 1-and-1, only a 45% shooter from the line. Well, it looks like he has a better stroke than that, too.
Again, you know, you see that stroke, and then you see the number, and you say, all right, it's a mental thing at this point. But looks solid on those 2 free throws.
Muhammad, the top shooter, field goal percentage-wise in the Atlantic Coast Conference. Felt, crossover dribble, and forced it up there. Daniel tried to follow it in. Georgia Tech basketball.
Nothing on that possession, but North Carolina has really established themselves on the offensive glass. It's one thing Paul Hewitt talked about. He wanted his Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets to get inside and get multiple possessions, but that has not been the case in this game.
Jared Jack forces it up there, defended beautifully by Felton, who got elbowed in the chin. An intentional foul at the other end by Bynum. And McCants is limping.
It came down a little awkwardly on that left ankle. There have been some hard fouls taken on breakaway layups early in this game by Georgia Tech, and McCants trying to keep the swelling down immediately by relacing his shoe up. A lot of one-on-one basketball here lately by Georgia Tech. Everybody trying to take it on their own shoulders, and here's the pull down. And as he was turning around, just kind of came down awkwardly on the ankle.
Unintentional foul, so McCants will go to the line, and then Carolina will get the ball back. Let's check in with Dwayne Ballard.
Tom, you know, so much has been written and said about Rashad McCants and his personality and what kind of young man he is. And Roy Williams has been quick to point out, for instance, last week when he benched McCants against Kentucky, that he also benched other players. He said it's not just Rashad who he's trying to teach a different way. It's a number of players, but Rashad, because he's a high-profile player, has been the guy who has gotten most of the ink. But he says in McCants' case, all I'm trying to do is what Dean Smith did. I am trying to teach. And that's what we do. It's in a public arena.
Great stuff, Dwayne Ballard. It's amazing. Ever since Matt Doherty was here and clearly had some relationship problems with some of these North Carolina players. Not saying it's Matt's fault, not saying it's the players' fault. But now everybody is so concerned about relationships around here in Chapel Hill.
They're kind of walking on eggshells a little bit. Roy Williams say, hey, I'm just coaching my team. It's what I do. And it's what Coach Smith did, leaving J.R. Reed home in an NCAA tournament game after he was the MVP of the ACC tournament.
They pulled him out of that game against UCLA, a second-round game. There you get a look at the Georgia Tech scoring. 5 players have chipped in so far. Muhammad leading the way.
Wow, you look at that, and it's completely on its head. 14 points off the bench, only 9 points from the starters. I mean, you'd expect that from Muhammad. He's going to give you good point production, but they've got to have other people step up. Jarrett Jack, B.J. Elder.
Well, Marvin Lewis, throw him in.
Yeah.
Lewis and Jack combined to average 23 points per game. Neither has scored in the game here tonight. Now Jack with 1. Demanding that ball in on Shencher. Felton got it to him, and Luke reached in for the foul.
I just think too many times here early on that Georgia Tech's bigs have gotten caught on Sean May's back. Somehow you've got to fight over the top, at least 3-quarter him, and make him fight for that position and come out. If he keeps you on his back and that entry pass is easy to make, there's really no way to defend it.
And Luke Shencher sporting that Mike Jaminski-like hairstyle going back to his days at Duke University.
And that's low blow right there. I'm going to have to retaliate on that.
May hit them both. So you didn't have quite that look.
I never wore a headband, ever.
That looks like Mark the Bird Fidrich from Detroit Tiger fame.
Man, that one left a mark right under my chin
I'm
here.
sorry, I couldn't resist.
I'm going to have to take a minute off here and reflect on that.
Lewis missing, made the rebound, and Melvin Scott finds Felton, who finds McCants, and he runs over the Tech defender. Good hustle the other way by Jarrett Jack to draw that foul. Well, we talked about bench points and how deep Georgia Tech is this year. Carolina, very little depth, and yet they're matching Tech blow for blow off the bench.
Well, and that's out of necessity for Tech because the starters aren't scoring, but they're getting, North Carolina's getting production from their bigs.
It'll go down for Jarrett Jack, and a foul on Raymond Felton.
Well, Jarrett Jack starting to warm up, got a little bit of breathing room with the screen right there, and Felton just a hair late on the play, kind of moving backward. That one was awfully close.
Foul on Felton. And Jack trying to get the lead down to 14. Still 5:11 to go here in the opening half. Williams bringing it across the timeline, and McHenry a little overly aggressive.
And Paul Hewitt didn't want that foul right now in that situation, but what they were trying to do was keep the ball out of Raymond Felton's hands, which they did for that possession, but then you bail them out by putting them on the line.
McHenry getting his 3rd foul. Only averages 4 points and 4 rebounds, but a very valuable defender.
Brought in as a point guard and has found his way to the power forward position. That doesn't often happen.
Well, he really is a microcosm of this entire Georgia Tech team. I mean, you can play him point, you can play him 2, you can play him 3, you can play him 4. Just like Paul Hewitt has so many different options off the bench as well.
Certainly, when as a coach, when you can look at things and if certain, especially on a night like tonight, where certain combinations aren't working for you, it's nice to have a lot of options and places to go.
42-27, North Carolina in a very impressive 15 minutes by the Tar Heels. Another Georgia Tech turnover. 13 of them. Chance into the lane, giving it up to May. Out there, and Jack's the rebound. Jack had it knocked away by Williams, and McCants. A foot race was censured.
14th turnover for Georgia Tech in the game, and Jawad Williams looked like a point guard on that play. The nice strip out front.
Marvin Lewis bangs in a much-needed three.
He's the guy you touched on it. They've got to get going. He's their main three-point threat, and to kind of climb into this game in a hurry, they need him to get off.
Well, they better find a way to stop that guy.
It'll be interesting to see, Tom, when and if they start double-teaming May inside.
Lewis again from the same spot, but defended better that time by Melvin Scott. Fred Molina came up short. Jawad Williams just runs over Muhammad. And for Jawad Williams, that's his third foul.
He lowered the shoulder that time, but here again we'll touch on the point. Getting caught behind on that play, and you can't give angles into the lane. There was really nothing that Shencher could do.
46-30, North Carolina, 3:22 to go until halftime.
Mike Goldberg and Larry Conley getting set for the Kyocera halftime show. Both #1 UConn, #2 Duke win today. Who should be #1?
Well, no, I'm not going to tell you. I'll tell you a little bit later, though.
All right, that much and more on the Kyocera halftime show. Tom Brenneman, are they throwing things courtside at Mike Jaminski in enemy territory tonight?
I got to be honest with you, Mike. There has been a lot of love shown for Mr. Jaminski. Franklin Street a little earlier today at a traffic light, and all of a sudden, obviously a bunch of Duke students coming over here to have a little fun.
Some of my peeps were hollering out for me.
We love you, G-Man, I believe was the comment.
Throwing roses down here, Goldberg.
I think you were even stunned into silence.
Beyond words.
Cross court to Elder. That's a big three right there. Georgia Tech with 3 minutes to go in the half, and they got it down to 13.
You want to beat the zone, you can make some long cross-court passes, which Georgia Tech did on that play. Nice ball movement.
Scott tries to answer. Not there. And look at Tarver from his backside gets a rebound. But Henry not a shooter, but draws the block.
Georgia Tech showing a lot of poise here. Paul Hewitt probably in that timeout saying, hey, 3 minutes plus, so let's take it to the house here, chip back into this lead. Maybe not get all of it back, but let's get some momentum going into halftime.
Well, coming up February the 22nd, Field of Rush as NASCAR returns to Fox. 17 weeks of high-speed thrills and excitement. Dale Earnhardt Jr., Jeff Gordon, Tony Stewart lead the world's best drivers. NASCAR returns to Fox February the 22nd. Oh, yes, they're getting revved up for NASCAR, coast to coast. Not just the Southeast anymore.
No, nationwide. Well, right now, the attention in the Carolinas squarely on the Panthers. Great win yesterday.
Well, that was a
double overtime.
Wild game. Mario West reaching in, whistle for the foul. Well, we so much enjoy having a chance to, the last 3 years, Mike, getting to know Paul Hewitt. Boy, he is first class all the way and bringing Georgia Tech basketball back again.
You know, the thing is that we talked to the people around the program, that he didn't let any negativity into this team. Yeah, they could have felt sorry for themselves with Bosch leaving and Nelson and all the things that went on. but he made this team believe in itself, and the record is proof positive of that. This team really closely mirrors the way he played in Siena, wide open, pressing, three-point shooting, up and down. Very exciting to watch.
Those teams at Siena averaged almost 86 points per game. This Georgia Tech team averaging 81 per game.
The only place right now where North Carolina is leaving some points on the table at the free throw line.
Bynum with a miss. May the rebound. 3-on-2 the other way. Scott feeds to McCann.
Well, Melvin Scott played point guard his freshman year, and it served him well on that play. Really ran the break well.
Carolina defending every pass, 25 feet away from the basket.
And Sean May getting on the floor to get the ball.
And McCann, the trailer.
Tom, on the season, Georgia Tech gives up 57.6 points per game. North Carolina has 51 with 1:40 to go in the first half.
Lewis with a rebound and a stick back. At Georgia Tech among the nation's elite in every major defensive category. And they are getting worn out.
It is not going Georgia Tech's way right now. 5-second call that time. David Noel near Mohammed on the whole possession. The 16th turnover of the game. And Melvin Scott, nice job just kind of waiting a count for things to flesh out there. Nobody really stepped up to step the basketball. And
John McCann's couple of easy tries. Nearly a Tech takeaway by Muhammad. Over and back. Melvin Scott said the ball was touched by. Look at Roy Williams slams his hand into the scorer's table. He is livid with that call.
Now he's self-proclaimed the most intense person he knows, and he showed on play. He's got an 18-point lead here in the first half, and incensed about that call.
That's the second time tonight Williams, in almost punch-like fashion, has gone to the chair once and now the table. Leotis Carver, his first basket. Down to 40 seconds left in the half. Carver giving Tech some pretty good minutes here tonight. His first game of the year.
Well, he's been much more active inside against May than Fincher has.
And Barrett Jack goes coast to coast to make it a 14-point game, and the Tar Heels will hold for a final shot. Down to 3, down to 2. May the jump hook too strong, and that'll do it in the opening half. What an impressive 20 minutes by Roy Williams' team. He was wondering and worrying about effort. He's getting it here tonight.
No question. I tell you what, he talked about playing with the sense of urgency in this game, and he didn't want to lay a lot on this one game. But you can see right there, this is a guy who wants to win a basketball game right now.
Let's go courtside at Wayne Ballard.
Coach Williams, an intense first half.
Well, it was intense. We gave so many of them away at the end of the half. We can't play basketball like that and be that careless and be any good, Dwayne.
Thank you, Coach. Tom, pretty intense for the first few minutes.
Well,
we're going to...
Thank you, Dwayne. In your conversation with Roy, you can see it in his eyes this morning. He was ready to roll here tonight. Had a very good half for the Tar Heels. Mike and Larry back in the studio.
Intensity is his trademark. Roy Williams' team, a spectacular first half on the scoreboard. Welcome to the Kyocera Halftime Show. Alongside my partner, Larry Conley, the veteran college basketball analyst. I'm Mike Goldberg. Up next, we go on the break. Number 1 UConn in a top 10 clash against Oklahoma. Number 2 Duke on the road in the ACC. So much is just ahead on the Kyocera Halftime Show. ACC Sunday Night Hoops is brought to you by Kyocera, the new value frontier, and by Staples. That was easy. Speaking of easy, how about the game of the day? Number 1 UConn hosting number 6 Oklahoma. This wasn't supposed to be easy for UConn, but it was.
Mecca Okafor once again getting the jam. That Husky is the lead dog.
He is indeed. How about this pass from Talik Brown to the aforementioned Okafor? 21 points, 6 rebounds, 4 blocks in the game. To Charlottesville, Virginia, game 1 of our ACC Sunday Night Hoops doubleheader. Devin Smith and Gary Forbes kept Virginia in the game early.
Yeah, but it was domination by Duke once again, both offensively and defensively, that carried the Blue Devils to this win. This is a solid basketball team, and they get it done everywhere. Once again, Reddick hitting one of his many threes. 6 Duke players in double figures. Chris Duvon had 15. Sheldon Williams led the way with 21. 17 in the second half. Larry, Wake Forest, a winner yesterday, so they are one of the 6 unbeaten in the AP Top 25. Number 1 UConn, number 2 Duke have lost already. They're 1 and 2. Who's number 1, though, in your mind? Well, you know, I can sit here and tell you who I think's number 1, and maybe one's 1A, but I will go with Connecticut right now. But Duke is not far behind. These two teams are so balanced. They've got good post players, they've got good wing players, but more importantly, they've got great benches.
And with the loss in the Pac-10, Arizona and Stanford will drop. Arizona will drop down, and Wake should move up to number 4. Rashad McCants, one of the 3Ms to have 12 points each in the first half for North Carolina. McCants, May, and Manuel. We'll discuss so much more when we continue the Kyocera Halftime Show. Welcome back to the Kyocera Halftime Show. North Carolina shoots 53% in the first half. They have a 14-point lead thanks to 16 turnovers by Georgia Tech. A little NFL for you. We will start in the NFC, tied at 17 in overtime. Packers at the Eagles. Brett Favre goes deep. Brian Dawkins of Philadelphia is there. A season of destiny for Brett Favre. A gamble, which he does frequently, does not pay off here. And it would lead to this. For the win, David Akers, 31-yard field goal. The Eagles advance. Meanwhile, in the AFC, the Colts at the Chiefs. Peyton Manning is now 2-0 this year in the playoffs. His first 2 playoff wins in his NFL career. And so the matchups are set as Indianapolis wins at Kansas City. Next week, they will open it up. The Colts at the Patriots. And then in the NFC, the coverage begins with the NFL on Fox, 6 Eastern, 3 Pacific, from Philadelphia, preceding the Carolina Panthers and the Philadelphia Eagles. Next Sunday, special Sunday afternoon national showcase for the ACC women. Number 1 Duke at Virginia. Tip-off is preceded by the Kyocera College Basketball Show at 6 Eastern, 3 Pacific. Welcome back to the Kyocera Halftime Show. They are loving life in Chapel Hill, North Carolina right now. North Carolina impressive in the first half. How important is Sean May in the lineup in 21 career games? The Heels are 16-5. They're 1 game under 500 without him. NC State at Florida State. Off the steal, Julius Hodge goes coast to coast. NC State leads by 5 at the break.
Terrific player, pushing the ball right between those Florida State defenders for an easy layup. It was a Tim Pickett, Julius Hodge show today.
Couple of runs late. 11-2 run. Al Thornton caps it off. Gives Florida State a 1-point lead with 90 seconds remaining. But in the end, NC State would score the last 6 points of the basketball game and win 58-53. All right, our game. Number 8, Georgia Tech. Number 12, UNC. You've got a big lead, but still, you got to love Roy Williams. His intensity, he wants no letdowns.
No, he doesn't. And this is also a basketball team that's well prepared to play tonight. They came in here fired up. And this is a team that I think in Chapel Hill will not lose another game the rest of the year.
Another being the key after losing in triple overtime to Wake Forest to open their ACC schedule. Larry and I are done for the night. We've had a great day as always, buddy. Enjoy your second half in Chapel Hill. This has been the Kyocera Halftime Show.
ACC Sunday Night Hoops is presented by Staples. That was easy. And brought to you in part by Kyocera, the new value frontier. And by Bank of America, setting higher standards. What a very impressive 20 minutes of basketball for the 12th-ranked North Carolina Tar Heels in front at halftime over 8th-ranked Georgia Tech, 53-39, 2 weeks from tonight. Our crew will make its way down to Clemson, South Carolina for the Maryland Terrapins against Oliver Purnell's Clemson Tigers. Tom Brenneman, Mike Jaminski, our whole crew back here in Chapel Hill. What an amazing first half for North Carolina. Maybe the best half they played of basketball any game all year.
I don't think maybe. Certainly first half, and if you're Roy Williams, you're happy that your team came out and established themselves at the first possession defensively. And like you say, even Tech 48%, but the field goal tries not there. North Carolina playing very well. Turnovers, a huge key. Look at that, 16-6. Maybe the biggest factor in the ball game, and they're also turning those points turning those turnovers into points.
A season-high turnovers in a game so far for Georgia Tech, 21 this year. And on the inbounds play to begin the second half, down goes Raymond Felton, grabbing his left knee.
And Roy Williams quickly out on the floor. And Raymond Felton was in a lot of pain and did not see what happened. And we were just kind of getting settled in over here in our seats.
Well, obviously, you just hope that maybe Mikey banged that knee into the floor.
Well, this, you want to talk about something that has a hush over the crowd right now. And I think more than anything, it looks like he probably just banged knees. Just watch right in here. Innocent enough. I mean, it's right out of, maybe on the screen right there, he's trying to get through. Yeah, he just kind of banged knees on the play.
Well, he got locked up with Clarence Moore. So Felton will go to the bench. Jackie Manuel comes on to replace him. And right away into big Sean May. May with 14. Lewis at the other end, hammered to the floor. And he'll go to the free throw line.
I'll tell you, you go to the basket at your own peril in this game. Well, again, what a great swing of the ball, and that's a great ball movement. If you're pinned on one side, get it back up to the top, and Sean May had Central right on his back in the middle of the lane.
Jackie Manuel picks up his third foul. Lewis, an 85% free throw shooter, hits the first. Chance with 12, May with 14, and Jackie Manuel. Many believe playing his best basketball at North Carolina in this his junior year over the last couple of weeks. 12 off the bench.
He came in hitting 8 of 11 over his last 3 games, 5 of 7 in this game. Only going to help his field goal percentage.
Tech with a takeaway. Jack with a chance to beat and does.
Let's see what Georgia Tech can do here with Raymond Felton on the sideline, and he's signaling to Joe Halliday that he can go back in the game, and Felton going over to the scorer's table.
Mike, I thought you made a great point at halftime. It feels like it's about a 25-point lead. It's only 12 right now. And a chance to get less than 12 as Jack will go to the line.
Well, they did make up some room with Felton out of the game, but I thought that Georgia Tech should have felt good about themselves being only down 14, especially with the way North Carolina played and as many mistakes as they have. But Jarrett Jack has been a little bit of a spark here early.
For the Ramblin' Wreck, Elder really with a quiet 10. He hit the 3 threes over about a 2-minute run. Muhammad 9 off the bench. But very little from Lewis until the last couple of minutes of the first half.
I think, you look at the difference, Tom, and really the unexpected scoring may be Manuel. That may be the difference. Everybody else in North Carolina about tracking where they should be. Maybe Jawad Williams a little bit lower than on average.
Jarrett Jack playing in front of a lot of families. 12 of them, he said, made the trip down from Fort Washington, Maryland to watch this one tonight. And look at Felton. I think he's all right.
Yeah, I think I better test this knee right now just to see how it is, and he's doing fine. That poor play by Georgia Tech. Nobody stepped up to stop the advance of the ball.
Jack forced the pass. 3-on-2 for Felton. And a reach-in foul by Mario West.
You know, everybody should be aware on Georgia Tech where number 2 is with the basketball, and that time more than anybody really just kind of waved at it. You've got to step up and stop the advance of the basketball. I said it earlier that he is a one-man fast break.
More, no whistle, and Sean May now the 16th. Williams is hurt as he goes to the floor, may have been poked in the eye.
And he's coming off a concussion a couple of games ago, too. Remember that. I think he's got a cut over his eye.
I guess he had his stitches. As you mentioned, Mike, on that concussion against UNC Wilmington, had to sit out the Coastal Carolina game. Came back, did not have a good game against Kentucky, but looked like Jawad Williams against Miami.
Right now, it's clearly affected, and yeah, he's looks like he's bleeding pretty well. Of course, when you're sweaty, and makes it seem worse than it actually is. Keeping line right there, going for the loose ball, and then Jarrett Jack kind of hitting heads and everything getting tangled up on the play.
You can see they're going to have to clean that up. Williams bleeding all over the floor, yeah. Well, by the way, I know a lot of family members of Gary Parsons, our cameraman. He suffered a concussion, but he's doing just fine.
The man's game right now. Fortunately, Gary's okay. Was knocked unconscious briefly for a couple of seconds, but okay. This has been a very, very physical basketball game right from the start, and not in a dirty way. Two teams who are trying to win a basketball game.
We had a very interesting conversation with Roy Williams about Carolina tradition earlier today.
You still have that tradition. You still have people caring deeply, and you still have people's expectations unbelievably high, and most of the time not very realistic. But we've got to handle that. We can't change that. You know, you'd think with 36 losses in the last 2 years that would get somebody's expectations to be more realistic, but it hasn't been. So I can't worry about that. But what I can worry about is getting our team to play as hard as we possibly can, and that's one tradition that we've gotten away from.
What a storied tradition indeed here in North Carolina. An NCAA record 27 consecutive NCAA tournaments, 31 straight 21 seasons. An NCAA record 15 Final Fours, 4 national championships, 36 losses the last 2 years, and now they lose Jawad Williams with 18-21. It's a 15-point game with Williams leading.
And did not look good walking off the floor, Tom. I mean, he looked like he'd almost been knocked out again. And we saw the bloody nose, but he had to have help getting off the floor.
5-second violation. Or no, a foul away from the ball, I beg your pardon.
Clarence Moore picks up the foul on that illegal screen. I wouldn't be surprised to see the referees maybe try to rein this one in a little bit in the next couple of minutes and call the game a little tighter.
Let's go courtside and bring in Dwayne Ballard.
Tom, I talked to Paul Hewitt just before the second half began, and he had 4 things on his mind. 1, turnovers. 2, the way they handled the transition offense. 3, turnovers, and 4 turnovers. He didn't seem to be concerned really with the physical play I asked him about. It didn't bother him at all.
He could stretch that out to 19 now, Dwayne, after that last play. 19 things that are on his mind, all these turnovers.
Carolina turns it over. Jarrett Jack into the lane and gets to Lehman. And the lead down to 13. Felton trying to answer at the other end, draws a foul from Theodis Carver. Well, that Jarrett Jack, only a sophomore, but he does compete.
Well, 2 sophomores going at it and trying to answer one another salvo for salvo. And God, Felton just a blur up the floor that time after a made basket, not giving Georgia Tech any breathing room at all. Felton, the key thing, you look at him, he's got 8 assists in the game, Tom, but no turnovers so far.
Both free throws good. 10 points to go with those assists for Raymond Felton. Scrapping defense from Carolina after the made free throw. And we talked about Jack competing, going to the basket, but can't get the roll. 2-on-1, McCants to Felton. A turnover for Georgia Tech.
Great hands by Sean May.
Goaltending. And again, created by a Georgia Tech turnover and a Raymond Felton pass.
Well, it's not a foul, but it's going to be called goaltending coming up through the rim on the play. McCants doing the honors this time, holding the break to the last second and then delivering to his point guard. Paul Hewitt's got to be careful, Tom. Game's starting to get away from Georgia Tech.
Carver, the offensive rebound. Can't get the stick back. And there's Felton again. Knocked to the floor. And are they going to get Muhammad for the foul, or is that a turnover? The two collided. I don't think it was a case where Muhammad was trying to get it. They just chasing for the ball. No foul.
As I say, either it was a foul or it was a turnover in North Carolina. Those are the only two options right there, and they did not blow the whistle on it.
Felton leads, and Melvin Scott back in the game. And Noel, a foul 20 feet away from the basket. That'll be his third.
The whistles are coming fast and furious.
You called it. You called it. You thought they should call it a little closer. And let's again check in with Dwayne Ballard on Jawad Williams.
Tom, I just spoke to Tar Heel trainer Mark Davis. He told me that Jawad right now has a big, bloody nose. He's uncomfortable. Doctors are looking at him. We'll get more on his condition as we find it out.
McCants has sent this building into a chaotic state.
Well, I think everybody in the building understood how important this game was. You know, Roy Williams talked about not putting so much emphasis on one, but everybody knew about going down 0-2.
Jack, a nice feed. Lewis draws the foul from May and kisses it in.
We talked about it. The road is very, very tough, especially in the ACC this year, top to bottom. Two teams coming away with good road wins today. We talked about Duke up in Virginia and NC State down at Florida State.
But, you know, you would think this Georgia Tech team is ready as you get a look at the two teams that have won the regular season championship with losing road records. And that's 14 and 15 years ago.
Yep. And no, you've got to protect your home court to the extent that you can, and then go out. I mean, you look at Duke over the last few years, 80% winning percentage on the road. Yep. I mean, that's how you fashion a regular season championship.
And thus, by and large, ownership of the conference outside of Maryland 2 years ago, and then, of course, late last year.
Yep.
Spencer whistled for his third. But you would think this Georgia Tech team would be ready to start winning on the road. They have 4 seniors, 5 sophomores, 5 juniors. We're back after this timeout.
We've gotten off to a great start, but now we're starting a different season. You know, here we are in league play. Everybody's got plenty of tape on you, so there's no surprises. You know how to prepare, and, you know, it'll be interesting to see how we react to how people take things away from us. I think in an early season, there's that element of surprise that sometimes that can work in your favor. Once you get the league season, you know, no secrets anymore.
Get a look at the early conference play record. 3 unbeaten. You mentioned NC State and Duke winning on the road earlier today.
And, you know, again, you look at Georgia Tech maybe a little behind the curve. This is their first ACC action where everybody else had played a game already, and they're coming off the tough road loss at Georgia. So it is. I mean, there's just no comparison between the non-conference schedule and then coming into the season. It's a whole different animal.
Noel playing with 3 fouls, picked it up going along the baseline. Fires cross court to McCann, spot up 3. And Noel runs it down.
And that's what he does for this the little things, chasing down loose balls. Interesting lineup out there on the floor for North Carolina right now. A little smaller, not as much offense.
Great pass from Jarrett Jack to Lewis. Good ball denial there by Shencher, and Bynum the other way draws the foul and had enough strength, and boy, he has plenty of that to get it up to the basket. He'll go to the line.
Well, it's a little different when you're censuring guarding David Noel in there as opposed to Sean May. But nice ball movement inside. Marvin Lewis, sometimes the jumper isn't going down for you. Get that little chippy inside, you get into more of a rhythm.
Jarrett Jack having a phenomenal year in just his second season. Heavily recruited sophomore now out of Fort Washington, Maryland. Well, the thing I've noticed tonight, I mean, his team has been double digits behind, and he is competing as hard as anybody, if not harder than anybody on the floor.
And that's the difference. Paul Hewitt talked about the maturity and how he has played on the road this year as opposed to last year. So a step up for him, and you know, there's no reason to think that this Georgia Tech team is going to go away. 15 minutes, plenty of time to get back in this ball game.
John, easy.
Spencer and May really banging underneath, and May will go to the line. While we have a moment for more on Sean May, here's Dwayne Ballard.
Tom, Mike, you'll notice the streamlined Sean May. He's lost 12 pounds. He's down to 260, wants to get down to 255. He told me that the reason this was because he and his father, Scott, made the great All-America at Indiana, were talking, and that he was worried because of Roy Williams' system, he might not be able to compete and play in it. He knew he had to be in shape. So what did he do? He changed his diet, eschewing burgers and pizza and junk food for salad, and he also got an intense weight training program, and the difference is what you see at the foul line, guys.
See, I went the other way. I got rid of the salad, going strictly for the burgers. But it showed up. I mean, you know, 12 pounds doesn't sound like a lot, but he's really a lot more defined this year.
Well, again, Jarrett Jack is just to take things into his own hands. Says, I'm getting it, going to the rack.
Well, and this, we talked about it, that light blue area in there, 2 points have been tough to come by, and you are going to sacrifice legs and limbs to go in there. Jarrett Jack, very strong, muscular, able to take the pounding.
Jack now to the free throw line 6 times in the game. Noel will leave with 4.
You got to think, Tom, that Carolina, having built up this lead, especially with the injury to Jawad Williams, they're in a better position to hang on with one of their primary scorers out of the ball game.
May off the rim a couple of times, and Spencer the rebound for Georgia Tech. Bynum fires cross court to Elder, and a blocking foul will go against Jackie Manuel. That'll be his 4th foul. We brought it up earlier, Mike, that if you don't have a lot of depth, and that certainly is the case for not only North Carolina, but some of the other top-ranked teams around the country, if you're going to win games playing 7 or 8 guys, you can't have 1 or 2 have a bad game or have a couple of guys get in foul trouble, because things can go south in a hurry.
You know, like what happened at Kentucky, and you know, for instance, and then at the end of the Wake Forest game with foul trouble. But I like what Georgia Tech is trying to do here in attacking the rim, getting to the free throw line, and slowing the clock down right now. It's really working to their favor.
Elder is hit 2 of 2 from the line tonight, and 3 of 3. clock at 11. Felton right by the defender. Wow.
He's been able to get most anywhere he's wanted to tonight off of the dribble, even in the half court.
Bynum fires cross court to Elder and missed everything.
Here's the look, and you know, you're going to play his right hand, but Raymond Felton can go both ways just as well, and to go in and finish left, pretty solid move right there.
Only a sophomore is Raymond Felton out of Atlanta, South Carolina. I know you don't like that preseason Player of the Year stuff.
Yeah, I think it's unfair, and you know, you got to let that play out on the court. The players will decide who the Player of the Year is.
9 in the second half now for Jarrett Jack. Scott. Too strong. Long rebound out to May. Gave it right back to Scott. And a blocking foul will go against McHenry, and he's just fouled out of the game.
You know, I don't understand why he tried to make that play at 6'7" with Scott coming in, go for the block shot instead of taking the charge. He wasn't in position to get over and take the charge, and he takes himself out of the game.
All right, we saw Paul Hewitt. He huddles his guys, taking all the time that he is allowed to make a replacement of McHenry. What's he telling his team right now? You're down 13:04 to go.
Oh, yeah, you know, if I'm a coach, I'm trying to break it down in the 4-minute increments. I'm going to play the TV timeouts, and I'm going to try to win those instead of getting it all back at one time. And, you know, so I'm thinking he's trying to get some poise. I like their way of attacking the rim, trying to slow the game down to a certain extent. I think that's the way you have to approach it. And then, you know, given the opportunity, you knock down a three or here or there, all of a sudden you're looking at under double figures.
Moore will come on to replace McHenry, who fouls out. And Melvin Scott going to the free throw line.
If I'm Paul Hewitt, too, frankly, too, in the half court, I'm coming off of Justin Bolander. I'm going to double Sean May. You know, I think that, you know, the time has come. You got to try to take the offense, especially in the half court, out of his hands.
Once again, let's check in with our main man, Dwayne Ballard.
Tom, Mike, Jawad Williams will not return to the game. We mentioned he has a bloody nose, he has a headache, but the major concern is, remember, on December 28th against UNC Wilmington, he had a concussion. They're concerned whether or not that has reoccurred. They're going to check him in the morning for that. That's the major concern right now. Boy,
it is great having Dwayne Ballard with us again here tonight. All over all the stories away and on the floor here tonight. Lewis with a three, and he's come alive here in the second half.
11-point game.
Yep.
I mean, you know, just like that in a turnover.
9-point game as Bynum throws it down. And another near turnover for Carolina.
The referee's getting in this one. Bynum getting a little chippy, and
look at Paul Hewitt telling him to zip up his mouth.
You know,
I know that's tough.
And you've done all this good work. You don't want to get a technical foul in this situation and undo it. Channel your emotions out into the game.
12:40 to go. And a big run by Georgia Tech, picking up 8 points off that Carolina lead. McCants with a turnover.
Trying to do too much off the dribble.
Bynum, acrobatic in the air, and missed it. And then knocked out of bounds. Last touch by Georgia Tech. Boy, that was a big chance right there for the Yellow Jackets.
Again, I just thought they were too congested on the break. Did not run it that well. The closer you are as a group approaching that, the easier you are to defend.
Michael, we've seen this depth by Georgia Tech perhaps start to wear down Carolina a little bit. They certainly look like a team with a little more juice in their step.
No question. And then you look at Paul Hewitt trying to get his stride, and then they're trying to keep the ball out of Raymond Felton's hands.
And a foul on the inbounds will go against Clarence Moore. There's a lot of talking and a lot of bumping going on.
But you know what? Again, you talk to the coaches. With Georgia Tech, everything begins and ends with their defense. We talked about their offense and the gaudy numbers, but their defensive numbers just as good And when they're playing well, they're doing it on the defensive end of the floor, and that's how they've gotten back in this game.
Moore will leave with 4 fouls. I'd like to remind you that coming up February the 22nd, NASCAR returns to Fox for 17 weeks of high-speed thrills and excitement and drama. The world's best drivers. NASCAR returns to Fox February 22nd. 37 fouls so far in this game now by the two teams.
Pretty nice poise by Justin Bolander to come in and knock down 2 free throws when your team is reeling a little bit offensively.
Timeout.
Jack got himself in trouble, picked up the dribble that time. They had to burn a timeout.
Well, the pace of the game has really slowed down because of all the fouls that have been called. Already 17 fouls for Carolina, 8 for Georgia Tech.
Well, and this is what, to get back in a game like this on the road, you got to make it ugly, and that's what Georgia Tech has done.
Bodies littered all over the floor as these two teams lock up an ACC Sunday night hoop. Saturday we go out west, Pac-10 basketball presented by Kyocera, a doubleheader. Washington and Oregon State followed by Cal and 4th-ranked unbeaten Stanford, 4 Eastern, 1 Pacific, only on Fox Sports Net.
Well, and there you see the foul trouble right now starting to build up with Carolina. Jackie Manuel with 4, David Noel with 4, Clarence Moore with 4. McHenry fouled out of this game already. Jawad Williams in the locker room with a bloody nose, will not return, so it's turning into a little bit of a war of attrition. In that case, you have to give the edge to Georgia Tech at this point.
Jack has played brilliantly here in the second half, and Bynum, a 3, but a long rebound comes out to Marvin Lewis. Muhammad barrels his way to the basket, scramble for the ball, and May comes away with it. McCants running the break. They'll go to the line. Jack fouled him on the way up.
You know, good look ahead that time, but for North Carolina time, it's been a while since we've called Sean May's name out in the half court. I think they have to find him and get him re-engaged in the offense somehow.
Well, certainly turnovers were a huge story in the first half. Georgia Tech turning it over 16 times. The 21 overall after just 5 here in the second half matches a season high for turnovers in a game by Tech.
DJ Elder being 10-2 over on the sideline came out after that. I'm sorry, Ismail Muhammad being 10-2. Looked like a cramp on the play.
Well, that guy's got muscles coming out of his chin.
Yeah, he's got a little quadricep cramp. Like that diagnosis?
You never got one of those.
I don't have any muscles in my quad. Nothing to cramp.
McCants hits 1 out of 2. 12-point lead. Under 12 to go.
And North Carolina leaving some points on the table at the free throw line.
Elder isolated out there with Noel. Along the baseline. Lewis with a rebound. Rejected by May. Tech will get it back.
Now, Sean May came over to help out on the drive and then got back into the play to make a block on the offensive rebound. Helps right there and then gets up the floor again for the block.
Well, the clock barely moving with all the fouls we've had, all the free throws we've had. Still 11:24 to play. Carolina leading 8th-ranked Georgia Tech, 75-63.
But key, really, Georgia Tech getting back into this game by matching the physical play of North Carolina that they put out in the first 20 minutes.
Moore for 3. Short. Felton to the floor to get the loose ball.
Felton came down hard on his right elbow on the play.
Roy Williams has discarded his jacket. Loosen the tie. Getting dirty with his players. And they just stick back. You just called for it.
There you go. Get him involved. They haven't had an answer for him in the half-court set.
Dempster off a nice feed from Lewis.
Nice catch, too. I mean, they have not been able to get Spencer. They've done some screen rolls, and that's the first time they've gotten some points out of it.
Our Bank of America play, and Raymond Felton defining higher standards.
No question. In this game, Tom, 15 points and 8 assists, only 2 turnovers for the sophomore point guard. Great battle between him and Jack.
Of course, Raymond Felton, the first team All-ACC tournament selection. He had a remarkable second half of the season in his freshman year here in Chapel Hill. We brought up earlier, they have had some unbelievable players wear Carolina blue, but I think he is the only freshman ever to go over the 400-point, 200-assist ratio in the same season. Tells you all you need to know.
Right, and Roy Williams talked in the piece we had earlier about expectations. They were otherworldly of this kid. I mean, almost to the extent of being absurd, and virtually he responded to all of them.
Noel behind the back, the feed to McCants. And McCants missed it more with a rebound. And Tech with numbers the other way as Jack pushes ahead. Hins into the lane. What a move by Jared Jack.
Let's just move the other 8 guys off the floor and let these guys go at it one-on-one.
That was the matchup you said to watch. 17 now for Jack.
And they're trying to give Jack a little bit of a break. They've got Bynum guarding Felton.
Both teams looking a little winded right now.
Tom, Sean May has gone into the locker room right now, walking a little gingerly.
Scott off the mark, Stemsher the rebound, and now with Williams out for the game, May back in the locker room. Here comes the rambling wreck. Dump it into Moore. Pitches out to Lewis. He can hit it all night. This time, no good. Felton going to slow it down. May now has come back out of the locker room, and he's getting ready to check back in. Shot clock at 7. Noel having to put it up. Look at Felton going after the ball. And he was the last to touch it.
All right, I think that Marvin Lewis got away with a push on the play. How about your point guard getting in there, and there's the little push. It did look like Lewis got away with a shove.
You could probably make an argument, too, that Felton came over the back.
Yeah, so maybe a net zero right there. You can see Georgia Tech very, very good in the open floor, but have struggled mightily in the half court.
Noel playing with 4 fouls, defending Clarence Moore. Coming off the screen is B.J. Elder. Jack for 3. In and out. Couple of big misses the last 2 times down the floor on open threes for Tech. Jack called for the foul, and Noel will go to the free throw line. We have Lewis, an outstanding three-point shooter, missed 2 trips ago, and then Jack missing there.
Maybe part of the problem for Georgia Tech right now, in the absence of a true post-up player, it's allowed North Carolina to really stay at home on the perimeter. People have done a pretty good job off the dribble.
That's right.
hitting the first. And we remind you, 2 weeks from tonight, ACC Sunday Night Hoops presented by Staples. We go to Clemson for the Maryland Terrapins. Coverage begins with our tip-off show at 6 Eastern, 3 Pacific.
Oliver Purnell, once an assistant coach for Leslie Driesell in the 80s up in Maryland, so familiar with that program.
Oliver's going to get it done at Clemson, don't you think, Mike?
No question. Very impressive guy.
And a very impressive player back in his day at Old Dominion.
They won a Division II national championship there, I believe, in the Old Dominion Hall of Fame. And really has built programs and won everywhere he's gone.
Well, he did a fabulous job at the University of Dayton bringing that program back. Boy, Hewitt has not been happy with the officiating. And that's going to be number 5 on Clarence Moore. He is fouled out of the game, joining his teammate Anthony McHenry.
Again, Paul Hewitt is going to take the full 30 seconds to figure out who's going to come in.
He's not happy.
Well, and he knows, again, you're at a very precarious situation right here. 7:39 to go, a 12-point lead. You've battled back to get it here, but you've got to start to make a push. And this game could very easily go either way, and he's just trying to massage this one to give himself a chance to win with 2 or 3 minutes to play.
We're going to look at the numbers for Paul Hewitt against ranked teams in his career. That includes his days at Siena and ranked teams on the road. A couple of wins this year. They were really neutral site games, playing at Madison Square Garden in the preseason NIT.
But in asking him, he really felt, I said, has there been a defining game for this team this year? And he thought the Texas Tech, I thought it might have been UConn, but really the Texas Tech one, it was a blowout win against a very good Texas Tech team. Everybody kind of looked around in the locker room at each other and said, we're pretty good. We got a chance this year.
Texas Tech has only lost 1 time since then, including a drubbing of Oklahoma State yesterday. In the game for Felton, who has gone to the free throw line now 8 times. 83-69, 7:39 to go at the Dean Dome. 25 years ago, Roy Williams, an assistant under college basketball's all-time winningest coach, Dean Smith, on the same staff with Bill Guthridge, Eddie Fogler. Look at Roy.
And that esteemed group of fine young men beat Mike Duke team in the ACC tournament finals that year, his first year here. Dudley Bradley, the MVP of the tournament.
And your good buddy Mike O'Koren on that team.
That's right. Yeah, one of my dear friends from my years in the NBA. We were drafted together up in New Jersey and spent a lot of time together.
Lewis hangs in the air, can't get it. But able to follow, and he'll go to the line. "42 fouls, and we have had 57 free throw attempts."
Well, that was it. You know, the pace and play in the first half really benefited North Carolina. And you see the substitutions, Georgia Tech coming in waves. With 60 substitutions in the game, North Carolina really not having that luxury, and we've talked about that. But they had to do something, Tech I'm talking about, to slow down the pace of the game, and they've been able to accomplish that. But still, they've only knocked off 2 points off that 14-point halftime lead.
And they've only knocked off 2 points off of the departure of Jawad Williams. 3 points, I beg your pardon. McCants, tough jumper there. 7 minutes to go. McCants took it right away. Made a great ball fake to fool Schencher, but he couldn't finish. Bynum all the way to the basket, and he'll go to the line. Bynum has given Georgia Tech some energy off its bench tonight. Not a lot of scoring, only 5. But Bynum, of course, missed the first 7 games. Had to sit out after transferring from Arizona.
Well, here Schencher gets away with one. A nice step up that time, getting the rebound, then turning it over to McCants, but able to get another hand up and stop the layup. Fortunate to not turn that into 2 points. So you look at Bynum, Tom, that he's coming off his best effort of the year, 15 points against Georgia. And talking to the coaching staff, that he's starting to just now feel comfortable with them. They're starting to figure his game out, and you got to figure going forward that he's going to blend in well. And Jack Emanuel joins the numbers of fouled out in this game. Had a terrific first half, but not much scoring in the second.
Well, what a lift in that first half. Bynum has hit 2 of 3 now from the line. Emanuel out, McHenry out, Moore out, Noel knocking on the door. Point lead. And just under 7 minutes to go. Of course, a reminder, your local Fox Sports News will be coming your way after the game. Our doubleheader here on ACC Sunday Night Hoops. Duke winning the opener over Virginia. Carolina with a terrific 20 minutes here in Game 2. But Tech back within 10. Made the miss and then tipped it in on a third try.
You know, and that hurts. Georgia Tech played good defense for about 30 seconds in that possession, but then they got the ball into their stud down low, and May gets a couple of offensive rebounds in the basket.
Forced shot by Bynum. May the rebound. Spencer fouled him. Four on Luke.
Spencer right now, and I think your call of forced is the key right there. You know, you've got it down. It's a 10, 12-point lead. You really want to massage your offense, work through it, make sure that each possession you get as good a shot as possible.
Well, you look at every Carolina player on the floor, every one of them bent over and grabbing their knees. A lot of minutes. A lot of Tar Heels here tonight.
A lot of minutes, and you're seeing guys come off the bench for Georgia Tech that don't have any sweat on them right now, and they're just, you know, they're running, able to do that and keep the pressure on.
And yet they get the offensive rebound after the missed free throw. And Jack races the other way. Just short. Lewis got it rejected. And now Noel looks ahead. McCann. Felton. Yes. Take a look at our Toyota game summary. Points in the paint. Carolina has dominated as you thought they would with big Sean May, and turnovers a huge story.
And that 26 points in transition has a lot to do with the guy at the line right now, Raymond Felton, and it has been a all-league performance in this game by him.
20 points in the game, 9 trips to the free throw line for the sophomore point guard. Lewis off the screen. Well, he's missed some wide open threes. That's rare indeed for Marvin Lewis. Bynum had it stripped away. Noel had it taken away by Jack. And a pass ahead. Bynum. Man, can he get up? And he can come down too.
5'10" or 6'10"? Pretty impressive. Good timeout by Paul Hewitt.
Bynum off the bench tonight with 9 for Tech. 2 weeks from tonight, Kyocera tip-off show gets underway at 6 Eastern, 3 Pacific on Maryland and Clemson. Jamar Smith, the only other player in the ACC other than Sean May, averaging a double-double.
see in this now, in the timeout of Paul Hewitt, let's see if they try to keep the ball somehow out of Raymond Felton's hands and let somebody else advance the basketball.
Georgia Tech got off to the best start in school history at 12-0 this season. Then they lost the game to in-state rival Georgia, a Georgia team that is not very good this year. They got beaten double overtime, and now here they are a week later, a week to get ready for Carolina, and they're down by 14.
Well, that's what North Carolina is facing. Georgia Tech had 8 days to prepare for them, and now when they go up to Maryland on Wednesday, Maryland will have had 8 days to prepare. Wow. They could have had 2 weeks to prepare for Raymond Felton and maybe not gotten the job done. He's been sensational.
Felton whistled for the block there. What an electrifying performance tonight by Raymond Felton.
And I don't think it's any coincidence that the 2 best scoring games that he's had have been against Chris Paul and Jarrett Jack.
Well, you called it before both of them. You know, coming into that game against Wake, he had only scored in double figures 1 time in Carolina's first 5 games, giving himself up, very unselfish, but he had 22 that night against Wake in a double-double, and he's on his way to a double-double again tonight.
And I think there's a fine line between making it a personal battle and helping your team win. And I think he's had to pick up the scoring with Jawad Williams out of the ball game injured, and he's had to take a lot of that on his back. The assists are also there, so really playing the complete floor game.
Each point guard tonight has been to the free throw line 9 times.
Well, Jarrett Jack coming off the only game, the Georgia game, the only time this year he did not go to the free throw line, so he has been more aggressive as well. And let's not minimize what he's done on the floor. Just that Felton's done a little bit more.
They will go to the free throw line. You thought this was a very critical game for Roy Williams' team. He said the same thing, even though it's the 11th of January. Said we need to win this one tonight.
Well, and, you know, we talked about the week, and coming in, and like I said, you don't want to ever put your program in a position where one game is bigger than the program. And he's right on that point. But you look at the schedule, and there's no way really they could have started out 0-2 in the league, 0-2 in conference. And that would have been a big hole to climb out of, because that's like giving 3 games away. And then they have to play at Maryland, and then they come home and play the #1 team in the nation in UConn. So this week was, it's just a monster week, and they're trying to get off to a great start here. I have to tell you what, quietly too, David Noel has come in and played very well for Jawad Williams. He's played most of the minutes there and given them a nice lift.
Georgia Tech has turned it over 24 times tonight, and they trail by 15 with nearly 4 to go. And then Jack got a piece of McCann's hand.
Jarrett Jack now sitting with 4 fouls.
A lot of the Carolina scorers tonight are picking up a lot of points at that free throw line. This will be their 22nd free throw of the half. Wow.
So they responded, and I tell you what, you put up, and there's still 4 minutes to go. This is looking like, I'm not going to overstate it here, their 4th 100-point ball game of the year. And you put up 100 points, you're doubling what Georgia Tech normally gives up. That's pretty strong.
Jack carries a 3 and a timeout by Paul Hewitt. 94-80, 3:52 to play in Chapel Hill. Point lead and the basketball, 3:50 to play.
Mario West now has to step up and try to put some pressure on Raymond Felton.
That didn't work too well.
Now, great, it's a great screen down low. Sean May and Felton working a little two-man game. You set a good screen and you'll always get yourself open.
B.J. Elder in and out. Elder has only scored 2 free throws here in the second half.
All right, Sean May is really hobbling right now.
Scott forced the pass, and Bynum at the other end will lay it in. Lead at 14.
And Sean May couldn't even run down the floor that time. I mean, he was in some serious pain.
But he's staying in there, not asking him to come out.
And that type of effort from both teams.
Carolina has already scored 100 points in 3 games this season. They're 4 shy of getting there for a 4th time here tonight. McCann gives it up to May. May a career high 28 points. Paul Hewitt again spending a timeout. It's been Raymond Felton night here tonight for Carolina.
He really, you know what? I thought he actually started the energy early on the defensive end, but then exploded offensively. Terrific night for him, doing it everywhere, on the glass, assists, the whole package.
And all 3 of those buckets are Kyocera shots of the game.
Well, once again, we get a great ball game. Last time we were in this building, we're talking about the game of a lifetime, certainly for early season games in December. But this one came as advertised as well.
For those of you not familiar with what game Mike is talking about, that triple overtime game, Wake Forest coming into Carolina, winning one of the great college basketball games they'll ever see.
Like with Sean May, they're kind of rubbing ice on his calf. It looks like another cramp situation. Muhammad went out of the game earlier with that. That's just the intensity of the game.
5th foul for Jared Jack. And you said it, Mike. He certainly handled himself and played beautifully tonight. Like the other sophomore point guard in this one, Raymond Felton.
Well, they're the last team that I hadn't seen in person. I've been very impressed with Georgia Tech, especially taking the couple of the knockout punches that North Carolina threw. They really battled back, tried to slow the pace of the game down, and really have not been able to make any inroads on that halftime thing, but have played extremely hard. And I thought maybe a little better defensive intensity in that second half.
Mind-boggling how good Carolina's offense has been here tonight. Mike brought it up earlier. Georgia Tech came in allowing 57 points a game. Their defense, the 3rd lowest opponent's field goal percentage in the country, at 35% per game.
Well, and you look, and it's the 2 guys we touched on in the open. In the break, primary break, secondary break, Raymond Felton has been there, and he's done a terrific job scoring points. In the half court, Sean May is a career high. So, Georgia Tech really wasn't able to take those 2 guys out of it, didn't have an answer, and that's, you're looking at 100, you're looking at triple digits here with the next made free throw.
Told you May, the career high 28. Jawad Williams left the game, as Dwayne Ballard told you, would not return, will not return. He had a concussion a couple of weeks ago in a game.
Well, that's the thing you really have to be concerned there. Was there a recurrence of that? And it's, in football, when those things add up. He was very woozy when he walked off the floor.
1:40 to go in Chapel Hill. And Carolina about to go to 10-2 on the year, 1-1 in the ACC. And the old 4 corners.
Going up to a very good Maryland team where they got a drubbing the last 2 years.
Shot clock at 5. Shot from downtown to put him over 100. the fourth time already this year. In 12 North Carolina games, they've gone over 100 points. The last Carolina team to score 100 or more 4 times, 93-94. That was the year after their national championship, when they had guys like Dante Calabria, Brian Reese, Derek Phelps, Kevin Salvadori, all those guys finishing up their career. And the freshman season for guys like Stackhouse, Wallace, and McGinnis.
And somebody please get Roy Williams a drink and a towel. He has worked as hard as anybody else out there on the floor. Another great college basketball game. I just love that, the intensity of this ball game was incredible. It's just an ACC regular season slugfest.
103-86, a minute 3 left. A huge week upcoming in the Atlantic Coast Conference. The Titans collide. Wake and Duke at Cameron Indoor Stadium. Wake Forest, the defending regular season champions. And then the Maryland Terrapins next weekend go to Atlanta to take on Georgia Tech here in Chapel Hill. Number 1 UConn comes to town. Carolina beat them last year, you may remember, very early, before May got hurt. This gets better and better, G-Man.
It's going to be a great conference season. And for North Carolina, everybody breathing a little easier with their record at 1-1. And now for Paul Hewitt, maybe a little time to point to be concerned. You got off to that great start, but your team over the last 2 weeks has only played 2 games, and they've lost both of them. You know how fragile confidence can be, and you've got to regroup. I'm actually going to be fortunate to be at that game with Maryland and Georgia Tech next week. They've got a couple of home games coming up with Virginia coming into town as well.
You know, it's amazing. We were talking about Wake Forest and playing Duke this week. Don't forget, before they go to Duke, they go to Texas. So that undefeated season for Skip Prosser's team that hangs very much in the balance. Day after tomorrow in Texas, and they go to Duke and then play Georgia Tech at home.
You could take any conference, you could look at any team and take any 3 or 4 game block and say, wow, that's pretty stout right up there. Just about. I mean, anytime you turn around,
getting back to something you said a little while ago, Mike, I thought one of the most interesting things in your conversation with Roy Williams today, when you asked him about tradition, and he said, the one thing about Carolina teams, they always played hard. He said, I can't say that about my team so far this year. They haven't. He said, and I was most proud of that more than anything else during his 15 years at Kansas. He said, we won a lot of games, but we played hard all night, every night.
Well, and I think he's got a game tape now that he can refer to and say, all right, this is, especially that first 20 minutes. I mean, there's no way that, I know in his interview with Dwayne that he was unhappy with some of the turnovers at the end, but all in all, especially on the defensive side of the floor, I think he's got to be very pleased.
Brought up Georgia Tech's terrific defense so far this year, but look at Carolina, 51% from the field.
And that's what happens when you get out and transition a lot, and that's why historically North Carolina teams have shot so well from the field. 2 components, layups in transition, and a big guy who shoots a high percentage inside.
And they've had a pile of those. Seconds to go. And Carolina, a week ago yesterday, a dismal performance at Rupp Arena against Kentucky. They had a very solid win against Miami and a very impressive win here tonight.
That's Felton on the block. Couldn't have been.
This dunk by McCann. That'll do it. 103-88. Roy Williams got what he wanted. Not only a win, but a better effort. So that's going to do it from the Dean Dome in Chapel Hill, our final. 103-88 North Carolina. Join us again in 2 weeks. It'll be Maryland and Clemson. For Mike Jaminski, Dwayne.